Hi, guys. I'm so happy to have you here this morning. Welcome to Sipping Tea with Sabrina. In just a second, we will be sharing the tea on wealth screening for nonprofits. But if you never met me before, I am Sabrina, the founder of Supporting World Hope, the nonprofit consulting company I started after 25 years in the industry. And we have with us today we have Cal Curry from Windfall. He's the Senior Director of Nonprofit Sales. And for clarity, this is not a sales pitch. This is information sharing. I get asked a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. How do you increase your operation budget? How did I do it? And how did I raise $12 million for a capital campaign? And one of the tools that was in my tool belt was wealth screening. So I wanted to share this information and this tool with you. But before we get started, this is what I want you to do. I want you to click a heart or a like button if you can hear me loud and clear. And let me know where you're watching from, even if you're watching in rebroadcast. You know why I want you to do this? Because it's going to help us with those Facebook algorithms that continually get changed all the time. So, as we go through this, Kyle, I want to really thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, this is going to be a very interesting conversation. And as people come in, you know what? Again, if you could just click the heart or the like button, let us know you're here. You have any questions? We're just going to get into it because, as you guys know, these conversations are only about 45 minutes long. And I promise my speakers, I promise Cal, we'll be out of here about, what did I say, 10:45-ish. So let's get started. So Cal, thank you again for being here. Can you share a little bit about yourself and your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Kyle Curry. I live in Chicago, Illinois with my rescue beagle, Commander Riker. And I've been working for and with nonprofits since 2006. So the first decade of my career was working as a fundraising professional myself. I worked at a group that brought music lessons to kids living under the poverty level. I ran a celebrity autograph auction while I was there. So my party trick is being able to say which of your favorite bands and musicians I've gotten signatures from. Went on to running $5 million galas at one of the largest after school programs in the country. And then about 2015, I transitioned over onto the consultative side of things, working in sales at nonprofit technology companies, CRM companies, event fundraising companies. Most recently, I was at Firefly Partners, which does digital marketing support. And I've been at Windfall since May of last year.
Cool. So as you see, I try to bring on the experts. And so Kyle has a lot of experience across that nonprofit sector. He's even been a fundraiser, as he mentioned, for over 10 years. So guys, this is the time. This is the time and the person to ask questions along the line of wealth screening. And it sounds like anything else you might have that comes up, Kyle might be able to help you with. So let's get started here. We have 8 questions that we put together. And we kind of touched on this on Monday in our promo video, but just in case, let people know, what is wealth screening?
Yeah, absolutely. So wealth screening is really using it's the process of using data and data science to help fundraisers understand the affluence of the people in their system. And that might be donors, that might be prospective donors. So it's basically who has money, who has the money to give. If you don't have money, you're not going to be able to make donations. And really, I've never met a nonprofit professional who doesn't have a zillion things on their plate. Every nonprofit professional is wearing a billion hats, is moving 100 miles an hour. And so when you have those downtime of 15 minutes, 30 minutes, where do you even start? And if you have a database of 1,000 people or 10,000 or 100,000 people, where do you even start? Where do you prioritize your time? Because I think everyone would love to be able to have infinite time and be able to have really deep, meaningful conversations with every single person that's interested, but you don't. And so you've got to think about where can you have the most impact on your mission. And well, screening helps you do that.
You know, as we were gearing up for this conversation, I was telling you we did a well screening, but I don't know if I used it to the best of its ability. I will say, and you might be proud of me on this one, I did at least identify. I knew I top 20 donors, and I spent time with them. And I did also identify my top 20 prospective donors and
Mhm.
spent some time with them. So maybe I wasn't as bad as I thought I
Yeah,
was.
I think you brought up myths in our promo, and I think that that's a myth that with well screening you can get back just mountains and mountains of data. And yes, that's great, but do you have to use every single bit of it? No. So what you did, say, hey, this is the time I have, so I'm going to focus on the top of the top of the top. That's the amount of time I have. That's great. That's probably the best place to start. And then if you carve out a little bit more time, or if you bring in more staff, then you can use more of that data.
Good. I'm glad to know I'm not as bad as I thought I was. So, how else does wealth screening work?
Yeah. So really, well screening is about comparing the data that an organization has collected, whether that's past donors or volunteers or people who have come to an event, with another data set. So, well screening vendors have built data sets, and they've done that. Organically, Windfall, for example, has built our own database using publicly available data, using partnerships that we have. There are other companies that aggregate data from database companies. They purchase that data, aggregate it for their users. So it's all about comparing the data that the nonprofit has built with those data sets, and then finding new information that a nonprofit can use.
Okay.
In Windfall's case, net worth, but you might see capacity scores or ranges of worth or other data points that you didn't know about someone that can help you engage and help you have that conversation.
Okay. So, outside of what you've mentioned, how else can nonprofits use wealth screening?
Yeah. That's one of my absolute favorite questions. It's one of the reasons that I was so excited to join the team here at Windfall, because we're really changing the game. But historically, and back when I was a fundraiser using wealth screening, nonprofits had been using wealth screening to learn more about their best donors. So we know these 100 people are giving us the most. Could they be giving us more? Do we know anything about what might motivate them? So it's kind of building out the profiles of the people that you already know are good donors so you can deepen that relationship, which is fantastic. That's how well screening has been used historically. More modernly, well screening is being used to find hidden gems. So, how about that $10 donor? Could they give more? How about this person who is on our prospect list? We think they could be a good donor, but they haven't engaged much. Could they be brought in? Is there a use case here for reaching out and trying to build the relationship? So it's become much more about finding hidden gems. And the other thing is, in kind of the more modern context of well screening, it's not just living under major gifts, or it's not just about
Mhm.
helping with a capital campaign. Well screening can really benefit people cross departmentally. So, event directors, back when I was planning that gala, man, I wish I could have walked into the event understanding the wealth of everyone that was in the room, the people at the tables. Is this someone who has a lot of money and is probably going to make a donation to the paddle raise, or is this kind of an entry level intern that got a ticket to the event from their company table, which is great, but we're not going to be expecting them to make a big gift, and probably not where we should send our board president to have a conversation.
That makes sense. That's really good information, and that makes a whole lot of sense, especially using it for events. Because I always, you know, it helps to know your community. Of course, it helps to know your community, but you can't know everything about every member in the community. But this is a great tool, especially for an event, and especially if you're at one of those events and it's an auction, and you know who you can kind of know who to put pressure on and not. So I never thought about it like that. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, are there any free ways to search for donor information?
Yeah. So good old Google, good old Bing, whatever your search engine of choice is. You can go out. There is a lot of publicly available data out there. It takes some work, but you can do it.
Mhm.
And LinkedIn, obviously, you can gain some insights by looking someone up on LinkedIn, understanding their job title, understanding their career trajectory. The issue with those methods is obviously it's very difficult to do that at scale. If you are trying to
Mhm.
do that for everyone in your database, that's just going to take all of your time. And
Mhm.
things change so quickly. As we know here from this pandemic, there's so many wealth creation and destruction events. People pass away, people get divorced, people move, people sell a business. And it's really impossible at scale to capture all of that. But if you are about to go and engage a donor, you can absolutely
Mhm.
do some of your own internet research. And even people who use wealth screening tools tend to validate that data or tend to kind of use that as a jumping off point of knowing who to then go out and do some additional research on.
Mhm.
Um, I will say that I always recommend to thinking of community foundations or associations specific to nonprofits in your area. AFP in Chicago, we've got a great group here called Forefront that has some tools that you can access as part of your membership. So there are great groups that might have some additional tools that you can leverage.
Got it. Got it. So thank you for sharing that. And
Mhm.
so, hey, if you're just joining us, welcome to our broadcast. We're currently talking about wealth screening for nonprofits, and we've just covered what is wealth screening, how does it work, and how nonprofits can use wealth screening to grow their not just their capital campaign, but their operation budget as well, their special events, make them successful. So keep that in mind. If you're just joining us, make sure you go back and watch this. Let us know where you're watching from and click the heart or the like button. Again, if you can hear us loud and clear, and this is always going to help with our Facebook algorithms, so we need that. So Cal, we're on the back end, and it can go fast, but we still got four more questions here, and we're going to open it up for questions from our audience as we get into this. So, my next question for you is, how can a nonprofit know that they are receiving accurate information when they do a wealth screening?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. And I like to preface it by saying that no data from any company out there is going to be 100% accurate. That's just not possible. And I think that that's something people should be aware of when they're looking into tools, because data changes so quickly, because it's
Mhm.
based on so many moving parts. And really, there's a couple of different things that you need to think about when you're thinking about data accuracy. The match accuracy. So, is this Kyle Curry in our database the same Kyle Curry that this well screening vendor is returning back to us? And then the accuracy of the data. So they've matched it. It is the right Kyle Curry. Is all of the data correct? And oftentimes, a number of those components are going to be modeled. So, what is their net worth? What is their capacity to give? And those numbers are going to be based on assumptions of the data that's kind of feeding into that model. So, how can people know that things are accurate? We talked about people doing their own research, and I know a lot of companies that use wealth screening. Number one, do some of their own validation. So they'll do some of their own research and say, hey, is what we're finding the same as what we're getting? Most organizations come to the table with some knowledge of their best donors, of their board members. So they'll use that for comparison. And then you usually can just kind of eyeball things in some cases and get an understanding of accuracy. A number of companies use more fuzzy matching methodologies, and they're going to return back to you some results that maybe are closer to a guess than strong confidence. So I've used tools in the past that will return back a list of donations that someone supposedly has made. So Kyle Curry donated $50 to XYZ organization. And oftentimes you can look at that list and go, I don't think this is the same Kyle Curry that's donating to all of these different organizations across the country. And that's where you might see, okay, I need to do some validation here. Other companies use more deterministic data science principles. So we're only going to return back a match if we know from a primary document that it is actually data associated with this person, with this address. That's what Windfall does. We match down to a household level. I think that it's important for people who are investing in wealth screening to understand the methodology of the company that they're moving forward with, and kind of understand, does this need additional validation? Am I confident in this data? And some companies return back maybe more data with less confidence, and that's fine if organizations say, hey, any bit of data helps, let's get going. Some are going to return back less data with higher confidence, and that's great too. Organizations can say, great, just give me what I can be really sure of. I don't want to spend time validating. I just want to jump in there and start calling these people.
Okay, well, that I'm going to say that makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. You want to get as much accurate data as you can.
Yes, you
So because, this is a follow-up to the next question. Is the amount of wealth always proportional to giving? So let's say I do a wealth screening and we have someone, who's pretty good. Does that matter? What is the amount of wealth always proportional to giving?
Well, it does matter. And if someone is in your database, it usually indicates that they've had some kind of affinity with your organization. They've come in contact with you at some point to be in your database. Maybe they've donated to you before. So there is some affinity there. And the more wealth someone has, the more that they are able to give. Now, does it mean that it's likely they're going to give a gift to your organization, or that they're going to give a big gift to your organization? Not necessarily. And that's why a lot of organizations, and typically the larger organizations, are organizations that are dealing with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of folks, tend to invest in propensity modeling, bespoke modeling that leverages machine learning to say, okay, great, we know they have money. We know that they can give. Let's look at all of the other first party data that we've had. How have they engaged with us in the past? What do we know about them? If they're associated with a school, when did they graduate? What was their major? What kind of programs were they involved in? All of these data points that might be relevant. And machine learning can look at that and say, okay, now we've got a good idea, not just that they have money, but that they are likely to give, and they're likely to give at a certain level. Maybe they're likely to make a $10,000 gift. So wealth alone doesn't mean that someone is likely to give, but at least you know that they can. It gives you it narrows the field a little bit for you.
Right.
It helps you prioritize.
And based on what you said, it not only narrows the field, if you're looking at alumni, where you graduated, what you majored in, it helps you kind of align what you could ask them to support. In my head, I immediately went there.
Absolutely. When people get just wealth screening, I usually say, once you get this data into your system, I think it's really great to pair it with an understanding from your own system of, how did they even get into our database? Were they a donor before? Are they a friend of a board member? Do they always come to an event? What's the context for them being in the system? That way you can engage them and meet them where they're at.
Okay. So this question is not here, but your speaking made me think of it. And it also, when we did the promo video. So you said, if they're in your database, then that's how you get it. But you said, wealth screening is not just for, bigger nonprofits or capital campaign and endowment. You also mentioned small or nonprofits. So what if you're a new nonprofit? Would it be a benefit to do a wealth screening? And if you don't have your database yet, how would you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It actually leads into the next question that I have down here for us, which is, what are the wrong reasons to do a donor wealth screening? And I think that yes, wealth screening can be used by smaller nonprofits, but it is important to not put the cart before the horse. So if you don't have your first CRM yet, if you're just getting started, if you don't have anyone who's supporting you yet, really the best thing to do there is invest time in building your key stakeholders, building your board, starting to get that mission out. Once you've started building your database, a wealth screening subscription can be really beneficial because that will help you early on identify the people who can make the biggest impact in growing your nonprofit. And I think that that's something that's really important to remember. Wealth screening isn't just about getting big checks. Wealth screening is about building the right relationships with the right people that can amplify your mission. People who have a high net worth likely have other friends who have high net worths
Hmm.
that are involved in great companies that can be pro bono donors, that are potential good board members. And also there is a bit of quid pro quo that happens amongst the affluent. Hey,
Yes.
I've got my passion cause, I want you to donate it, and in return I'm going to donate to your passion cause. So by identifying the high net worth individuals in your system, even as you're starting out, even as you're growing, you can then influence those people to go out to their networks and get donations from those people and hopefully build some organic relationships with those people as well.
Yeah, this goes back to exactly what I always say. 60% of fundraising is building relationships. And this is just a tool that's going to help you do that in a better way. So thank you for kind of restating that.
Mhm.
So, what are some wealth screening best practices?
Yeah. So wealth screening best practices. I would say, we've already talked about it, and you demonstrated this from your past experience. Focus on the most affluent. You know,
Mhm.
think about. Oh, wait, I'm going to get this information. I'm going to start out with that top 10 or that top 20%, and uh, it really can help a fundraiser understand where to spend their time. But
Yes.
even though you're focusing on that affluent, don't just ignore the folks that have been strong supporters. If they don't look like they've got wealth based on the match in the system, but they still write you a $500 check every year, they still come and volunteer at every single event, make sure that they don't slip through the cracks because they're a good donor, they're a good supporter. They might be hiding their money somewhere. They might
Right.
actually have more money than you think, or they may grow into wealth. But you don't want to alienate really fantastic supporters just because you think, oh, they don't have a lot of money to give.
I totally agree with you. I had this donor, and they would send $25 like a month just to see, how they were going to be treated as a $25 donor, and that was kind of their testing ground in order to increase their gift. So please make sure you take care of all your donors. Wealth
Yep.
screening is a great tool, but make sure you take care of all of your donors. And I will make sure I say that. So I'm checking here to see if we have any questions. We can answer any questions that you have at this time. Just put them in the comments there. And if you and Cal will be able to answer your questions, or I, from a practical experience on wealth screening, will be able to answer your question. I know one of the questions that I get asked all the time is, can you help me with fundraising for my nonprofit? And the answer is always yes. And the next step for you is to visit my website at www.supportingworldhope.com to check out my services. And if you're watching and rebroadcast, post your questions in the comments. And I'm good. Cal hasn't agreed to this yet, but we communicate quite frequently via email. We'll get back to you, right? If I can't answer it and it's not in my wheelhouse, I'm pretty sure that he will answer it for you. So I'm gonna check and see if we have any questions here. Thank y'all for joining us. For those that I see here, we must have did a great job. I don't see any questions here.
Do
So go
Sabrina,
ahead.
do you want me to talk a little bit about the offer that we're pairing up
Of
to
course
bring
I
to
do. That
people?
was going to be my next one. That's going to be my next one. I wanted to give people the opportunity, but go ahead. Let's talk
Perfect.
about the offer.
Yeah, so I'm so glad to be working with you, and what Windfall wants to do to help your followers here to help people that you work with is we want to provide a free wealth analytics report to anyone who's listening who might be interested. What that is it is a high level 30,000-foot view screen of the nonprofit's records, and what we return back is going to be the number of millionaires that we find in their system. And some insights about those people. So, of those millionaires, how many of those folks have over 10 million of net worth or over 20 million of net worth? What's the median gift range of those high net worth individuals? What other kinds of causes are pulling at their philanthropic heartstrings? So, I think a question that I get all the time is wealth screening right for me? Am I at the right stage of my organization's development? Is there enough opportunity in our system to even warrant it? And this free wealth analytics report really can help frame out for you, is now the right time? Or do I need to spend the next year maybe building up my database a little bit more and then revisit this? So would be happy to provide that.
So how do they claim it? I'm going to put it in the
Mhm.
comments in the chat here.
Yeah. Well, they can reach out directly to you and you can get us connected. That'd be
Oh,
great. Or they can visit windfalldata.com and sign up there.
okay, perfect. So just let us know. Perfect. Thank you so much. You've always been so generous, and I really do understand the tool of wealth screening so much better. I wish when I did my wealth screening, and maybe this is something take back to the team, and I'm sure you guys do. When I did my wealth screenings many moons ago, I really truly only I used it, like I said, for those three things: the capital campaign, identify my top 20 donors and my top 20 potential donors. But I'm sure there's so many more ways to use wealth screening
Yeah.
to build those relationships. And I think people need to think about it in that way. Like, it's a great tool to have in the tool belt
Yeah.
when you are in charge of fundraising and making sure that your organization is sustainable. So I would encourage the people in the group, people that are listening to this, to really look at this tool and see how it best fits a work for your organization. So,
And I want to jump off of that and say, like, I totally understand data can be intimidating. And I think that what holds some people back is thinking, if I get this, I don't even know how exactly I would use it. One of the things that I really love about Windfall is that all of our customers get paired with a dedicated customer success manager who is their person to help through onboarding, but also help with best practices. So I just gave one best practice, but we've got just dozens and dozens of resources, guides built with best practices. And our customers can jump on the phone with their customer success manager whenever they would like to talk about, hey, how else can I use this data? Where can I leverage this? And what gets me out of bed every morning is the stories that we hear from our customers of ways that they hadn't thought about using the data that they're seeing huge impact with. So maybe it's using our trust association trigger to understand if there's an opportunity for a planned giving ask. We already talked about events. My background being in events, I get really excited about things like engaging people throughout the year for what auction items they want, or night of event, letting the photographer know, make sure that you're getting pictures of our board with these people or our celebrity guests with these people, because now we know they're high net worth individuals. I also have served on the board of organizations myself, and thinking about board development. Who should we start stewarding and cultivating to maybe join our board at some point? Well, part of being on the board is writing checks,
yes.
or bringing to bear your skills and talents and your connections maybe through your career. So wealth intelligence, career intelligence can really help bring that to the table too. So all of those best practice type of maneuverings, we've got customer success managers that help our customers with. There should be no reason to feel intimidated.
Well, where were you when I kicked off my planned giving, and I did not even think to use the wealth screening data to
I,
look at planned giving?
and I think, I think that there's a lot of ways that wealth screening technology has advanced.
Oh, you
Windfall.
trying to say I'm old, Cal? I get it. I get
Well,
it.
I remember back in the day when you bought a number of credits, or you're paying for each person you look up,
Yep.
and you're looking up them once a year or once every 5 years.
Yep.
Windfall has subscriptions, so our customers can screen an unlimited number of records, an unlimited number of times during their subscription, which I think is fantastic. It's how you find those hidden gems, and it's how you start applying that data in different, unique ways. Some parts of me wish that I could go back and be a nonprofit staff member again, just to be able to use the new technologies that are emerging.
Yep, you are correct, because I was one of those how do you say it? Frugal
Hmm.
CEOs, and that was always a challenge and an obstacle. So you are correct. So a subscription basis is a good thing, because yeah, back in the day it was not as such. So thank you for making me feel better about myself.
Of course. And
Um
I think that it's a really good point that you bring up to the kind of frugality of nonprofit professionals. I respect every single nonprofit that says, "Hey, can we get a discount on this?" I ask every vendor ever for a discount, when because you want to do right by your donors. You want to be fiscally responsible, and you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence to make sure that their donor money is used in the best ways possible. So I think it's important, when people think about investing in a wealth screening solution, to think about how they're going to be tracking the return on investment. If we're getting this, are we making the most of it? Are we raising the money that we're hoping to from it? How are we going to track this? I'm really excited for any of your listeners here to come and do this wealth analytics report with us, because I think it does give you a good idea of the opportunity living in your system today. Is wealth screening right for me? But
mhm.
it also really lays out the roadmap for benchmarking your success with Windfall. If the median gift of someone who has a net worth of $2.5 million is $30. Hey, after a year of using Windfall's data to find these people who have that net worth and ask them for a little bit more, can we raise the median gift amount for those folks? And then you can go back to your board and say, look what we did. We used this data in a really productive way. You can see this was the first report we ran with Windfall. Here's how we've really grown. Here's how we've moved the needle in all of these ways.
Good. You know, that really helps, especially like you said, especially with us frugal CEOs. That
Mhm.
really that helps sell what we need to our board of directors as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. So how can people contact you? I know you said visit the website, but is there another way people can contact you?
So windfalldata.com. I'm Kyle at windfalldata.com. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Kyle Curry. And then absolutely, if they want to reach out to you, I'd be happy to get LinkedIn through you as well. So
Perfect.
I'm sure that you'd pass along anyone who might be interested and reached out to me.
Yes, I am putting the website in and your email in the comments as we speak, so that people can reach out to you um, as they are traveling along this nonprofit journey that we have both been on. So, and that's
And
what I like about you, because you bring that wealth of experience there. So, any final words, Kyle?
I, I'm just so grateful to start my day here with some delicious tea, and to talk about
I got my
nonprofit.
cold concoction in this cup.
Yes. Nonprofit data, and like you said, I've been fundraising myself for a long time. I could talk for hours about all kinds of nonprofit stuff. So if anyone, I'm happy to go off script. Anyone who has any questions about events, about peer to peer, about social media, about marketing communications, I'll chat your ear off. I just love being connected to other nonprofit professionals. So always happy to have tea with you and your friends and your nonprofits any day.
Thank you so very much. He's a wealth of knowledge and experience. So I like, it's about surrounding yourself. I think we even talked about this,
Mhm.
surrounding yourself with the right people. And
Yep.
Kyle is one of those people. So yeah, if he's putting it out there, take advantage of it, and build that relationship with him. So I leave you with this. Your mission matters and deserves to be highlighted in your community. Your mission matters and can be an inspiration to those who need it the most. Your mission matters and deserves to be funded to its fullest capacity. Our next Sipping Tea with Sabrina will be on May 18th, and we will have Sean Koskowski, the nonprofit fixer. And guess what, guys? We're going to be talking about startup help for nonprofits. So that's Sipping Tea with Sabrina. See you next time. Bye-bye, guys.